Bring it.
Spaces, things exist. In the lines that form the network of your mind. Behind the retinas of imagination are the particles and peripherals that made you who you are. Turn off, shut your eyes, and listen to dispatches from outside the box.
All right. When we were younger, we'd spend hours pretending to be our favorite cartoon character, superhero, or even animal. There's something in us that wants to pretend, and when we get older, we decided, let's make this a little harder and add dice. Whether working through dungeons to steal treasure from ebony dragons, slinking as a cyber junkie through the techno streets of a Sony-owned San Francisco, or slipping through the darkness of night and politics just to survive another century as an aristocratic vampire, role-playing has been the vehicle in which we live out those fantasies. Provided the tabletop god orchestrating the story allows us to do it. Tonight's dispatch is all about the effect role-playing has had on our imaginations, creations, and society as a supposedly satanic force inevitably swallowing our children whole. Not really. I'm C Michael Lanning, independent artist and match scribbler, here to introduce you to tonight's panel. First up, as always, the suave Stone Abdullah. Stone?
What's up? C Michael Lanning. What an introduction. I'm just going to use my radio voice for no reason on you guys. I am Stone Abdullah. I'm a science fiction author. I've been doing that for about 20 odd years. That's where you see that Journey of the Shadow thing happening. I'm also ex-scientist, computer scientist, climate scientist, modeler. Did that for about 15 years. I forgot to mention I'm also an ex-educator. Used to teach K through 12, undergraduate, and post-secondary education. So I just love all things information, all that blending in with my sci-fi stuff. And hey, just a little note here, guys. Journey of the Shadow, Darkness Falls drops this Friday, May the 6th. So stay tuned. We'll talk more about that later. But I wanted to get into more role playing. You know what I'm saying? With the magic. Mitch Rogers? Is that
Mystic? I got Mystic.
Mystic. Oh, you got Mystic.
Mitch Rogers.
Oh,
Last week it was Mischievous. Now it's Mystic.
Oh, yeah.
Mystic.
Oh, yeah.
So now you're a wizard.
That's right.
You're a wizard.
Yes, I am.
What's up, Mitch?
Go ahead.
Hi. I'm Mitch Rogers. I'm an indie artist and writer, creator of the Boger horror comic book series and the Flesh and Blood collection.
Awesome. And of course, we have our guest panelists tonight, starting off from, to my right, left, whatever. We've got the nifty Nick Talker. Why don't you introduce yourself, Nick?
Hi, folks. I'm Nick Talker. I'm when you pull out my crazy resume. artist, author, game demiser. Yes, folks, I will kill your campaign. No, game designer, artist, author, game designer, sword master. I've been an art instructor. I've been a paranormal investigator. More consultant, more solve the problem rather than kick it off and then leave.
Right.
And,
looking at you, Catholic priest.
Under the sun, including I was the man in the suit for Chuck E. Cheese for a period in my life. At the same time, while I was caring for severely mentally and physically handicapped people, because your hustle better have a side hustle. And
okay, listen to this man.
I'm currently the game designer for Hybrids, the Sons of God, the role-playing game.
The role-playing game.
And game. I also do tabletop tactics games like the Big Stompy Robots line of games, novels. And is that the shut up, Nick? You're talking too much alarm? No, my wife has one of those. All right, I can go into this more, but I want to know more about these awesome people.
All right, well, look, I'll tell you what. I will introduce our next guest, the Greg LeVitre. Gregory, tell us who you are, sir.
What's up, guys? I'm Greg LeVitre, and I am the president of Brain Cage Multimedia. And essentially, we're launching a bunch of different projects this year in different entertainment industries. We're starting with my comic book Gun Demon, and
sounds awesome.
Thank you. It's been a lot of work, and it's a labor of love. So I'm really excited. We're getting ready to launch again. I fucked up my Indiegogo campaign. It's first campaign. I screwed it up. Yeah, so I'm going to relaunch. I'm going to relaunch and do things right this time, and take the money I took from that campaign and put it all together and basically fulfill the same deal because I fucked it up. Then I'm also got my game Blastbot. It's an NES homebrew, and I'm launching that 8-bit Nintendo. It's Metroid. Basically, it's like Metroid, but with steroids and testosterone. And the higher tiers of it actually also come with Blastbot Armada, which is a shoot 'em up game set in the same universe. So, and then I'm launching Battlegate, which is my collectible card game. Those are the first official launches for Brain Cage this year.
Awesome.
Awesome.
And of course, last but not least, the Daring Dojo Cut. Sir, introduce yourself.
All right. Hi, guys. My name is Brian. Yes, I own and operate, and I'm the lead writer for Dojo Kun Comics. I have been a disc jockey, so when Stone brings out his Ron radio voice, of course I have to as well. You may also know that I'm a certified fraud examiner, certified internal auditor, certified internal controls auditor, certified in risk management assurance, and a certified anti-money laundering specialist. And recently put that to use here in the comic realm, but let's not talk about that for very long because that just brings all sorts of trouble. That's like walking.
You are the master of malicious compliance. I know we don't want to go into it.
We don't want to go.
Opportunity to tell you to your icon what a delightful version of malicious compliance that was. It warmed my black little heart, and I really appreciate it.
We have dark. Like it's so dark. We almost look like it's like a dark shade of blue. You know what I'm saying? Like we start glistening of blue. It's really dark.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So why, you might wonder, why am I here with all of that? Well, in role-playing, it was years ago, but for about 20 years, I played tabletop role-playing games with friends. I played Magic the Gathering and still do that's about almost reaching 30 years now.
Wow.
And then a lot of those geekdoms also cross over into comic books, and every now and then you'll see something like that come up in one of my comics as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so cool.
So I've been publishing comics for since 2014 independently, and I have 12 releases of my own without crowdfunding, and then I had in 2021 I crowdfunded and released Siamese. So ready to go on to the next one, Projectile Reptile.
All right. So my question is this, Nick.
Yes, sir.
What is role playing?
Role playing is the closest to immortality any individual can get. It is a chance, first and foremost, to live a life that isn't yours and to inspire yourself and others both to greatness and to find what you can't do so that you can then learn how to do it. For me, I've used role-playing both therapeutically to help people deal with personal traumas and to teach basic kind of adult survival skills, how to handle problems. It's also the fastest way. If you want to be a better author, role play, set up characters, pick any system you like, and bang it out, because it's a fertile ground. I could come in and say, yes, we use statistical anomalies and we process things, and I have charts up one side, down the other of the background math. But if you're doing it right, you don't even need the dice. I'll be honest.
Yep.
And that's a very unpopular opinion in some circles.
Oh my gosh! Are you crazy? You can't say that a lot.
They're going to be at your door, right? In about 5 minutes. But
I think it's by finding out who people want to be, who they choose to be, tells you who they want to be. You learn more about them, and then you can do simulations and stuff. And how would you handle this, that, or the other? And it makes you think later. I picked up so many skills because very early on, I played characters, and I'm like, I want to know how to pick a lock, or I want to learn how to sword fight, or, all that. So I've been a DM for 30 years, and shout out to Dojo Kun, because I started Magic the Gathering with Alpha. So, it's nice to see somebody from the old days. You know what I mean?
But 1993.
Oh yeah, it hit with the start of it. But I think it's just so important to get out there, and it lets you be your characters. And especially when I work with a lot of people with physical limitations. It's part. If you know me from my sword fighting channel, the Historical Fencing Guild, I tailor to helping people with social and physical limitations, trauma survivors, rape survivors, suicide survivors. Use sword fighting to get their power back. So I do the same thing with role playing. And I know that's probably not the angle you guys expected me to just jump right in. I'm not walking through the light shallows here. I'm not that guy. I'm going to kick open both doors and say, this is why it's important.
Do it. Exactly. And that's why we do it.
And role playing is it's not magic. Like magic, spooky, spooky. I know people who do that. No judgment there. But there's so many misnomers that keep people from doing something that can really, I think, benefit their lives. And in this era where everyone is screened, a tabletop role-playing game, especially if you aren't using miniatures, which I know, again, sacrilege, forces you to use this thing called an imagination. And there is no greater weapon in the battle for your soul than your imagination. How you shape it and how you hone it will help you get through so much. So, I'm deeply passionate about this subject, and I only talk about subjects I'm passionate about because I don't have time to fool around with what celebrities doing what,
Yeah.
Right.
You only have time to talk about what's passionate, what means something important to you, and then you can communicate that to other people, and that's how you impact people's lives, right?
Well, that's the goal.
That's the entire goal.
Absolutely. So, Greg, you still there, man?
Greg.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
So what attracted you to role playing? What was the
It's the same thing that attracted me to science fiction novels of the 40s through the 60s, which it's like a safe simulation to be able to experience the possibilities, like stretch your mind to imagine creatures very different from us, civilizations and cultures very different from us, abilities that mankind isn't seen to possess in any way, and things that could possibly happen. And that's what brought me to role playing, because it just, I tried to play the D&D starter kit, when I was like 8 or 9, and my buddy and I just really didn't get it. And then the next year I had to read The Hobbit, for a school project, it was between that or something that didn't look interesting at all to me. So I took The Hobbit. Instantly, I understood Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I got it then. I was like, I got the atmosphere of like an ancient, forbidden place, that people haven't stepped foot in except for like evil spirits or trolls or something, for, all those types of things.
Minotaurs. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The scary things in the darkness around the corner, in these corridors, the dungeons, the caverns, the whatever, and that's what got me into it, man. It's a simulation. We can without like going out there into space and getting ourselves killed, we can like play Star Wars RPG or Star Trek RPG or whatever, Stargate, and go out there and pretend we're doing it, you know, and we can imagine these different creatures and maybe different ways to communicate with creatures that are completely different from us. Maybe they'll spray some kind of chemical on us, you know, as a form of communication. We might see it as like being rude, like they're spitting on us, but it's actually saying hi and it's trying to connect neurologically or something with us. I mean, you know, without this type of fiction, I think people don't grow. They don't grow to really think of these things, and we may not be prepared to meet creatures that we're unfamiliar with.
That's a great point. Great point, Gregory.
Absolutely. We role play that out. Absolutely.
I love it.
Brian, same thing. What attracted you to role playing? What was the
Well, I'm definitely going to come at this from a different angle, guys. I have Asperger's syndrome, and I actually see things a little differently than some neurotypical people do. But on top of that, I've also been an actor ever since I was in the 6th grade. So the idea of role playing just fit very well for me when I didn't actually start playing role-playing games until I was in my late teens, early 20s. And it was basically because my then brother-in-law introduced me to it. And I played it, like I said, for quite a while. And it was a great extension of both the imagination that I have that I often, I don't know what to call it. My kids call it playing in my head. I think it's just another way of saying daydreaming, quite honestly.
So, that's pretty accurate. Yes.
So it was great for me to have that kind of an extension, the ability to, and I'm going to sort of go along with what Greg said as far as experience other cultures. And you might say, well, you're sitting around at somebody's kitchen table. How are you experiencing some other cultures? Well, I would often pick characters that were like, well, like in Dungeons and Dragons, you can be a Wu-Gen, which is, it's a wizard, but it's an Oriental wizard. So I started looking into their culture and learned so much about it. And it fit well with my karate instruction. So it was another extension of learning Japanese and things like that. So I like to tie a lot of my geekdom, if you will, together. They build upon each other and really strengthen one another. So there's that. And then also, too, I try to pick things that are so different from me. As a young adult, I couldn't join the armed forces because I had a bleeding ulcer. But as a role-playing gamer, I could be a Marine sniper. So I read 3 or 4 novels about being a sniper. I didn't take any classes, but I learned as much as I could and researched it. And, a real sniper would look at me and say, yeah, that's cute, kid. But I mean, overall, I learned a lot and I gained a lot of respect for their skill set and the sacrifices that they made. So I think that this is an opportunity. Role-playing games, just like reading, historical novels, is a great way to learn.
Agreed. It's a great way to learn. It's a learning vehicle. Yeah, gotta agree.
So Stone, are you ever? I know you've done video games role playing. Have you ever tabletop role played or?
I got into Warhammer, some time ago. Warhammer 40K. You guys know about that. Like that was in '87, the year I was born. Yeah. And then when I got to college, I think is when you start running into the other group of people that the esoteric but they're really just creative, right? We were doing our academics, but the other side, one side feeds the other, just like Brian was talking about. And so I was like, okay, this is really cool. Because sure, I was familiar with all the RPGs, like the video game RPGs and JRPGs and stuff. I had them, yada, yada. I mean, it was great. My favorite, by the way, Final Fantasy VII is not the best one. I think it's either 10 or 6. Or 3, 6, or 10. All right, between those. But anyway, Dynasty Warriors. Good Lord. But there's so many. So I saw the variations of role playing, right? And I saw how it brought people together was one component. Because I was just like, my gosh, there's so many things out here that are dividing us, especially when you get in academia, right? And then you start to look at things from an analytical top-down perspective, and you're starting to look at this stuff. And then you say, well, man, look at these mediums that all of you guys, you, Nick, Greg, and Brian, were just talking about. This is an interconnectivity that we're using with a natural part of humanity. We love to create, for crying out loud. That's a common denominator across human history. We love
Right?
creating.
Oh,
So I was just like,
It's a
I'm like, well,
sociological party. Yeah.
yes, it's like a sociological orgy, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
You're not wrong.
But,
It really is.
but
we're
but
creating modern mythology right now. Is what we're all doing. Is
Right.
really when you break it down.
We're creating modern mythology. So, man, growing up, I was homeschooled by my parents. God rest both their souls. And of course, we didn't have a whole lot, but what we did have, we had books. They gave us, by the way, kids and folks listening at home, there were these things called encyclopedias. And we had like 3 types of encyclopedias. And it wasn't like static information, but it gave you a form of reference to look up stuff. And then we learned about history, going back to what Brian was saying, about ancient history. We learned about so many people, not just the Greeks and the Romans, but from the Japanese, the Chinese, and the Aboriginals and the Maoris, and everybody had a certain history. Everybody had an imagination about what their world was. The Incas, the Mayas, the Aztecs, everybody, the natives in North America, everybody had a way of telling a story. And I pictured that with, I'm like, well, dear me, why can't we, bring back that same spirit, pun intended, bring back that same spirit of interconnectivity through this medium of role playing. And for me, it was a no-brainer to light my creative fire. And of course, I was like, oh, we're being a science here, is that mathematics this. But there's a great interconnectivity, as we saw with a lot of mediums, just like my man Greg was saying, with like Star Trek, right? I said, there's really no separation. There's really no separation between the two, right? So as a writer and all these other types of things that I got into, it allowed me to meet more people. You know what I mean? And it's formed lasting relationships like over the last 20 odd years. Like I couldn't believe it. People you meet on the internet, you've never seen. There's probably 4 people that I've met through role playing that I've known just by role playing. I never met them in real life, but I love the absolute shit out of them. You know what I'm saying? This is the type of human connectivity. So I would say that it's played a huge part of me developmentally, socially, and also creatively, man. I owe a lot to role-playing games, both formats, from tabletop to video games. I know that guy.
Johnny Cage.
That guy.
And the other guy, too. So
Johnny Cage,
Johnny.
weren't you? What's up, Johnny? Weren't you in Mortal Kombat? How are you doing? I hope your sunglasses are okay, Johnny.
And look. Here's somebody who's playing hooky. I'm currently role playing myself as a graphic novelist.
I see
Are
how
you doing it well?
I see how you are, Randy. Hey, will you come on the show? Sure, I'll come on your show. Oh, gotta run. Usually, I was explaining because usually I either put women to sleep or they run away. So I'm not sure which. I was expecting to find out you were taking a nap there, Randy.
Did he send you as his proxy?
Wow.
I have 6 different speech impediments at any given point. So something vaguely like the English language falls out of my mouth. And I just try to bluff my way through. So, I probably did say Randy. Yes,
Don't feel bad. Me too.
Don't worry.
Yeah. You can ask these guys as badly as I've messed up people's names.
Oh, you're a master, see?
That's right.
I wait for it. I'm just like, I'm going to use that at school tomorrow. You know what I mean?
My wife asked him.
My surname is the perfect name to fuck up. It has been fucked up 50 billion different ways throughout my entire life. It's been actually fascinating hearing like new ways somebody could say it wrong. And I'm at the point I don't even know how to say it.
There's so many ways. Why stop now? It's too
damn
much.
French.
Damn, I never trusted a Frenchman.
French and the Latin
French,
are
man.
warring in my head.
What do you mean
so
you
I
never
really
trusted
want to
Frenchman?
Bite into that thing. LeVitre.
LeVitre.
The Latin
LeVitre.
wants to get a hold of it.
Well, I do the Americanized version as LeVitre because us Americans can't do the tongue roll, right? So
It's just it's jalapeno, okay? It's jalapeno.
Right. If you can do the tongue roll, it's like LeVitre, something like that. But I sound very pretentious and fake when I try to. So I just
Brian.
that's what a lot of other people in my family line, I guess.
We're gonna.
So that's the Americanized version.
We're going to use your last name in an erotic novel, if you don't mind, because we are.
Let's do it, man.
That's a different kind of role play.
That's a different
Of course,
kind.
The more, like, big
wait, we're not
movies
talking
out
about
there.
that
We
kind?
only have an NFL player right now.
That's tomorrow night. My show
That's
is
tomorrow.
Zipcast. That's tomorrow night.
That's
I'll
the
be role-playing
dispatches from way outside.
That's outside the bedroom or inside the bedroom. Mitch.
Hey,
Yes.
Hold the Daphne's red light and
Quick,
you know,
Mitch, save us.
yeah.
Talk about role playing.
Talk about
please,
role-playing.
Mitch, for the love of God.
please, or else
Wow, this is getting off the rails really quickly.
Yeah.
you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Well, I will say
I,
something about role playing. You know what's fascinated me in the last few years is how Wizards of the Coast got rid of pretty much all of the novels, and the only one allowed to write their characters still is Salvatore. He's been he's continuing the Dark Elf series, but like Ed Greenwood, all of them, they don't get like Ed doesn't get to write Elminster. None of them are writing any of that stuff, but we still got Bob, luckily, and he's my favorite author, so I'm lucky there. But
we still have Bob.
We still have Bob, but for as
That should
long
be a
as they'll let us
hashtag.
have Bob, right?
Yeah,
Until they'll maybe cancel him or some shit.
That might be
But,
why he's getting out.
But hey, you never know. That
Why'd they stop the
4
books?
billion.
It's the
I don't
world.
know.
Well, we got Brandon Sanderson too, guys, man, and I'll tell you what, is he lighting shit up or what? The biggest Kickstarter ever, man. Boom!
What in the world? He just dropped.
Just
I'm
when
like, bro.
Yeah, when like
Thank
the
you.
fantasy novel industry has been dead for like years, and like and he comes in and he fucking smashes,
Vitalizes it. So
Woo!
we're not.
40 million,
We're not
was
paying.
it?
40
I don't know
million?
what he's up to. Let's look.
More than 40 million.
More than 40 million. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
Might be approaching 50 by now.
Oh my
it's
God.
amazing.
he's a hero for all of us independent, regardless of what
Yes.
genre, because it's
Yeah.
it's telling people this. It's what's
Doable.
this word? Validity. It's
Yeah.
doable, right? But it tells everybody, look, it's not just Random House Publishing or not Penguin and all this other type of stuff that's producing all the good thing. You can make the comparative between Marvel, DC, and say, well, that's where all the good stuff is. That's a freaking lie. The independent community, sorry, I'm on a little bit of a soapbox, but this revitalization, I'm so glad that we had that Brian Sanderson moment and to tell people, look our way. Yes, we're doing awesome shit. And role playing is a huge component of that. So, I'm going to use that as a segue to swing it to Mitch Rogers.
Yeah, Mitch.
Let Mitch speak so that we.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I was never into role playing, like specifically, but like Stone said, I was into like the video games, Final Fantasy. I played Magic when I was younger, quite a bit, mainly because there was really no like group of kids that was doing like Dungeons and Dragons or Warhammer at the time growing up.
Right.
So
They just weren't there.
Yeah. So definitely, if there was like a D&D guild or whatever, I definitely would have played some.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That would have been one of those.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, when I was introduced to it about 14 years old, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't play because what's with all the damn dice? That's all I've got to say. Nick, what's with all the dice, man?
Okay, we got to get into a little bit of history to get into the.
We love history on this show.
Yeah.
Now, part of it is D&D is basically the grandfather of role-playing games as we know it. Now, some of the people think that these dice are new. The Romans had 20-siders, so it's not as new as people want to think. They're a couple thousand years old. But the way Gary's mind worked was he loved tables. He loved to be able to go from one table to another table to another. He thought very much in almost programming language before programming language was a thing.
And by table, he means chart.
And by table, I mean chart. I'm sorry, because it would always be table A, B, sword table, ability table. And he needed lots of ways to do it because he enjoyed doing the math and playing with the probabilities. So there's a whole breakdown when you want specific likelihoods. Where is my handy? Oh, that's not here. I have a handy dandy chart when I'm running DMs that has all the percentages and averages of likely of any given die. So,
awesome.
like, you are most likely to mathematically roll a 10.5 if you average up all the dice, all the rolls of a d20. That doesn't sound important, but that means is there's just the skosh that you're mechanically more likely to accomplish something than not.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
in
awesome.
that, in the power of that literal 0.5% of chance is all the hopes and dreams of every single player who's ever thrown a die. And that's why Gary had it. He used the platonic solids, which are all the regular three-dimensional shapes that you can make to roll to have as random number generators. Oh yeah. And I'm dyscalculic and dyslexic, and I make this go. Don't ask me how. So he wanted all that. And what happened is people got hooked on that. And this is actually where I start to almost immediately have a problem with some of the modern game systems versus earlier game systems.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in rules complexity creep, where I want a superpower. Okay. Well, you want a superpower, and they want a superpower, and they want a superpower, and they want a superpower. So when you take what could be, I literally have a system I set up that's one side of a piece of paper. I can run a whole dungeon off of one side of a piece of paper, and that gives all the monsters I need, all the characters to run a one-shot, everything. One side, and it's biggie print, because Lord knows I'm blind. But that's the great burden. And when we're designing games, there's this desire. When you look at 5th edition, 5th edition is up to 5th edition D&D, which is Dungeons and Dragons. It's the 5th major rules reset they've had since the origin. I came in, for example, at the end of the Satanic Panic, which is something I'm sure we're going to talk about.
Which is about, what, 1980?
Let's say, what, 83, 84-ish?
It basically went from 83 to 88, roughly, and a little farther in some of the more Bible Belt areas.
Yeah.
Well, if you had long hair, you were definitely.
Oh, yeah.
I am a DM because I was walking down the street, and next to the garbage can was a book with the world's ugliest dragon on it. And it was the first kind of reboot. It was a basic thing called the new easy to master Dungeons and Dragons. It was a big box set, but I was poor. You see something cool on the ground, you do this.
Yep, and you do that.
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, it's
Right
mine now.
So, between that and the Reaper Mini catalog, because that's all I could afford out of the comic book shop, it was free. You know what I mean? I got really into this, and I was a kid who had to save a couple months to get enough money to buy dice from the comic shop.
Right.
And, convinced that it was cool, but I DM'd out of that book. It only gave you levels 1 through 5, because it was supposed to be introductory. I still run games for 30 years out of that with, okay, well, we want to go farther, have to crunch the math and kind of try to guess your way farther along. So it really forced me to do things maybe I didn't like because, there are only two elements. My dad believes there are only two types of matter in the world, if you ask him. There's carrots and there's sharp sticks, And this carrot was enough. I was willing to endure a lot of sharp sticks, and including getting the crud beat out of you, because if you were a geek in the 90s, it was not the world like it was. My face has caught many a punch for my opinions, and it likely will continue to as time goes on.
Oh well.
But don't let the books and the dice. If you're watching this and you're genuinely wondering what's the deal with role playing and why do they, don't let the complex systems. I've been championing for years that find easy rules like systems, have a good time. You don't have to be Matt Mercer. You don't have to have a library of rules. You can game badly. If you're having fun, you're winning.
Right.
And
That's exactly
thrown out there because
thank you.
As gaming's gone mainstream, people are starting to assign all these. Well, you have to be able to do a bunch of voices, and you have to be able to do
Wait,
Matt
what?
said,
Is that really a thing now?
What?
Yes.
You have to do
That's
voice?
that's the
really-
thing.
Oh, what is
If
that?
We're not doing every character. Hello, my name is Bob.
Oh my god!
This is Jimmy.
What?
The barbarian. Anyway,
Well, like,
but if you don't switch
Jimmy's
voice,
a small
you're-
barbarian.
Oh yeah, Jimmy's awesome.
Yep.
But if you don't do that, or if you don't run 5th edition D&D, if you run anything else, it's not really role playing. And that's the worst kind of gatekeeping because you're
that's
preventing
cliquish.
people
Yeah.
from having fun.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Oh god, it's BS. If you want to play 5th edition, I'll tell you what they don't tell you. If you go to wizardsofthecoast.com, look up basic. They have a full rule set of a simplified set of rules anybody can download for free. If you want to play a better version, there's things like Basic Fantasy RPG, which is for us old timers set in modern. That's what I ran for Red Valkyrie Presents because it was free to download for everybody. If you wanted to buy the book, it was $5.
Yeah.
Because one neat thing about independent creators, and it's part of why I'm so passionate as an author, as a game designer and stuff, is I can intentionally keep my prices as low as possible to make it applicable, because it's what I call the Uncle Iroh clause. And again, I'm revealing my geekliness a little more there. But if you don't have an Uncle Iroh in your life, if you don't have somebody you can go to who can help you learn and get better, you have the responsibility to become that for the people around you.
let me put a disclaimer on that too, just for people who don't know who Iroh is.
Oh, sorry.
Like in Avatar: Last Airbender, there was a firebender named Uncle Iroh. That was the wise sage, isn't it? So,
And
One of my favorite characters out of the whole series.
Yeah, I agreed.
And he's one of those characters that I really, as you read, this is why fiction is important, people. This is why we need our heroes.
Yeah.
Because heroes inspire you to be better. And some people, their heroes are going to be different. There are some people who think Batman is the way to be as a hero, how he handles right and wrong. There are some people who think Soups is the way to be, or Captain America, or whoever. My heroes always were people like the old Doctor Who's, because that was the age it influenced me.
Yeah.
Characters like Uncle Iroh, Artie from Warehouse 13. This is, like I said, I've learned my genre. Old Man Kenobi. I get where the universe fits with somebody like me. And that's cool because in D&D or any RPG, and I played them all. I won't say I played them all, but a whole bunch. Doesn't matter if it's GURPS or Werewolf or Vampire or Rifts or D&D, pick a number.
right?
I'm
But
glad
they
you
just said-
know about the dice.
Didn't know about the dice. And Bloodo says 5th edition. I'm so burnt out on. I've been into GURPS-based systems as of late. Special attributes with tons of cool skills to utilize. Okay, help me out because Dojo, GURPS and Rifts. Look, I'm sorry, man. That's
Are those new to you?
Yeah, that is new to me.
Okay, so GURPS is generic universal role-playing system.
Oh, okay, I got you.
In GURPS, I mean, that's what the cover of the book says. And you can pretty much play any genre, and you can mix the genres because the rules system applies across all the genres. And I mean, you could do Old West, you could do Vampire, you could do Space. GURPS is very diverse. It's a bit more complicated, like Nick was saying. You can find easier games to play, but it was definitely fun. I played that for years. A very complicated game is Rifts. Just creating a character takes hours. And if you get hit by, I forget, it's called mega damage. You could have a character. You could lose a character you took, 4 hours to create with one hit.
Wow.
So it's super frustrating sometimes. Rifts is if the game master isn't careful, and like Nick said, the whole thing that the game master is responsible for is making the game fun.
Yeah.
Not making everybody follow the rules. If something looks like it's going to be fun and it breaks a rule, break the freaking rule.
Break the rule.
Absolutely.
Break the freaking rule.
I was a game master a number of times, and a lot of times I noticed that my players were kind of checking out. And I thought, I think that's because we're playing, quote, by the book too much. So I just started throwing some crazy shit at them, and suddenly they all perked up like, wait, what? So all of a sudden it was funny. It was stupid as hell. And I don't normally like that kind of thing, but it was stupid. It was silly. And they had a blast. So it was like, okay, all right, that's the rule. Have fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Greg, come on, man. What is Mutants and Masterminds?
It's in a sense, it's got similarities. I mean, the system itself is very different, but at the core, it's very kind of similar to like GURPS and Riffs, where you can pretty much do anything from like science fiction to fantasy or superheroes or whatever. And it's just a really diverse system. I don't agree with what your guys were saying about the rules, and I'll tell you why. Because PvP happens sometimes. So if you allow people to bend rules, they'll do it against other players and they'll be overpowered and it won't be fair. And then that's not fun. So I always make sure, I mean, you can make it very fun and still follow the rules that, you know, everybody that's playing the game has agreed is going to be the rules. You know, like if you're going to add like new special variants or something, you should always tell the table ahead, you know, before the game and make sure everybody, you know, understands all that, because without that, it's just kind of like winging it. And sometimes that's cool, but sometimes that's really, really, really bad in my experience.
You got to be really careful with PvP. I mean, once in a while, it's fun to have like one of the characters turn on the others because he's been the victim of a charm or something like that. But honestly, if PvP happens too much, I think that means that the players are trying to, you know, stir shit. So as the game master, you kind of have to refocus that, because allowing PvP too much, you're changing the whole tenor of the game, in my opinion.
What's too much? It's what they want to do, so let them do it.
I'd like to chime in on the breaking rules, because that's the problem with this. When you take something so like a sentence, you know, it's pulling a sentence out of a whole verse and not seeing either side, because you can break the rules according to the book, but you maintain consistency according to the game. And that's good. And see, that's like I am notorious for having grotesquely overpowered items come through my games that I pulled out of either other systems or other, you know, pop culture things. I mean, my D&D parties have fought shadow battle crabs, the Babylon 5, the villain ships.
Yeah, Babylon 5. Yeah.
How many of your characters have wielded Mjolnir, Mick?
Quite a few. More have wielded things like the Sword of Light from Slayers.
Okay.
The Slayers anime, and you know, the demonic howling sword, and then it got infected by the elemental plane of cuteness, so it was the demonic meowing sword, because the character had been transformed into a cat chick, you know. And this is fundamental, because what I can do is all I'm doing is I'm taking things that would exist in the game, you know, stat block wise, and then just shamelessly reflavoring it,
right?
Because the math doesn't care what color a fireball is.
Yeah.
So if every fireball this wizard does happens to be pink and shower glitter all over the place, because it just, you know, not only does it make it more fun, but it, you know, really confuses the very serious villain, you know.
Right. But you're talking about an NPC versus a player. But I think what Greg means is like following the rules when you come a player versus player action in that sense. Which I understand what he's coming from with that, because you don't want to, if I have this many stats and versus the other player who has a lower stat guard, and it was like, oh well, he does it. I've seen that happen before. That has caused many fights.
That's where
more fights than Monopoly.
That's where you find good DM,
big time.
And I'm going to use DM generally, because I think in that
Dungeon Master
DM. A good DM allows a lot of, how do I put this, illusion of difference, where, you know, I'm looking at my players and either they are balanced. They may not realize it because I'm good enough at the background math, where, that the thief is going to mouth off to the paladin. The paladin's going to backhand the thief. if they get knocking, they think at their same levels that, the defense is totally different. But you look at what the thief can do, they're more agile, couple abilities, that's going to offset the
paladin or whoever.
The armor that the paladin has, etc. This is where, in anything, first you learn the rules, and then once you understand them, you can bend and break them. It's just like any other art. You learn the rules of perspective, you learn the rules of framing, you learn the rules of narration, and then once you understand it, you can throw it out the window because you understand the why and the how. It's what lets something like a Dutch angle have an impact.
Well, that's the kind of thing that would be a house rule that, you just simply let the players know it's a house rule, if they like it or not, things like that. I mean, rules, like adding different rules or taking away certain rules can actually ruin the experience sometimes for people. So that's all you have to, be pretty careful about that too. But like the kind of thing that I've seen, for example, is a guy I know, like his best RPG story is built on something that just simply can't be done in the rules. So anytime he like brags about defeating this dragon that he took out like many years ago in this one game, if he's telling that to anybody who knows the ability, the dimension door, this is how it went down. So this is how his psionic that was 8th level, he says, killed a great Wyrm dragon. In one turn or whatever. So the dragon was going to go and do the bite attack. So he opened the dimension door, trapping the dragon's head in the door, and then he closed the door and it beheaded it. However, that's not, it says right in the description that you lose 50% hit points if it's a limb, and if it's the head, you lose something like 75% hit points or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head but it tells what it is. You don't lose the limb. It doesn't put any of your body parts in another place or anything like that. It pushes pushes you out. It's right there in the spell description. So basically, if this guy goes to a con and he's bragging like, yeah, man, I fucking took out goddamn Great Wyrm at level 8, and somebody's gonna be like, what? No way, dude. How'd you do that? He's gonna explain it and look like a douchebag. Now, if he actually did something to actually earn it in the actual rules, he can go brag anywhere about the thing he pulled off and feel confident if nothing's taken from him. So twisting the rules and allowing things and stuff like that, like the DM did for him, kind of ruins. I think it lessens the experience.
But there should be an understanding about what the DM establishes beforehand, and then the players understand, like, hey, this is just for this particular session. It doesn't have to be a universal concept. So there's some accountability of your understanding about what session that you're playing, like in that example. So in that example, he should know, hey, there's a universal system, and it's just as what Nick was talking about. Hey, you know the rules well enough. But then, say for example, if you have a DM that just say, hey guys, we know the rules, but we're going to throw this in here tonight or whenever, then you would say, okay, well, this is just for this game. I can't expect to have this dimension door cut off a dragon's head at level 8 for the next game. You see what I'm trying to say? So
in any game, I don't think.
For any game. But but it's fun.
That's your table.
They probably shouldn't even be up against a Great Wyrm dragon at level 8 either.
There's a lot of
shit like that when I was an amateur GM, but I haven't done that. That's like, I stayed away from that kind of shock and awe thing. It's like, I like turning up the heat, which it's a little trickier. I think it's more fun over time. But it is fun sometimes to throw something that's way overpowered at the heroes and let them like pull off some cool stuff. But once again, it's just I'm that's the way I play. Right. And that's why I say house rules. Do what you want in your house, as long as everybody knows how at the table knows how they're playing, and all that stuff. I don't see any harm. But
sometimes my group got to be so powerful, we would go random deity hunting. Which, if you look at the rules today, the deity would just blink you out of existence. But we had fun with that for a while, and honestly, it got boring. Our characters were so very powerful that we got tired of it. So what we did, we did this amazingly dramatic change. We went back to level 1, and it was so complicated how to be able to fight these things with nothing but a dagger. Like you had to get so creative all over again. That became so much more fun to have virtually, none of those spells, no Holy Avenger sword. It forced us to be so much more creative, and it was fun again.
It also forces the heroes to sacrifice. Like, for example, the Legend of Huma. He goes up against Tekhisis, the goddess of dragons in the darkness. You can't expect to live through it. You're a mere mortal. These creatures have power beyond your imagining. So it's like it brings that real threat back. Like that Huma, he sacrificed himself. That made the story great, and it made the whole thing, So it's. Yeah, I did the same thing back in the day, Brian. My buddies and I remember we did a tour of the different levels of hell and took out the lords of each level and all that stuff.
Right.
That kind of cheesy shit. It's fun when you're a teenager and stuff, but it doesn't have that real gravitas and like ongoing epic story kind of feeling like we're more into, I think, as adults. We want to be part of something that's bigger. The best game I was ever a part of, I was one of 2 GMs. We actually planned it we spent about 4 months collaborating on this whole campaign, and we planned it out. And there were 2 parties running simultaneously each game. There were the good guys and the bad guys. And what we were doing was leading up to the good guys and the bad guys facing off in the epic war eventually as the big heroes and villains of the war. And oh my God, was it amazing. We were doing a lot of tag team GMing. Like sometimes like he would be like, man, I think you could he would come over and be like, hey. And we'd go in the other room, have a meeting, be like, I think you'd handle this one better. Why don't you go in there? Because fucking dude went around and did this. And I'd be like, what? Yes. And oh my fucking God, was it amazing. And we were also playing characters in the story too, on both sides.
Wow.
We treated them kind of like players, but we didn't make decisions, like players. Right. We were NPC characters. But so we were really in the middle of that. It was an amazing game. Went on 15th level, I think, is about, and then the showdown happened, and it was a big throwdown, and most of the characters died. And it was a surprise. The ones that lived. It was a real surprise, the ones that lived. And it was really, everybody, when it was done, was just in a different zone. We were amazed at what we had experienced. It was so cool.
So, Nick, you look like you were kind of exploded. You just look like you had something to say.
Oh, God, yes. There are 2 or 3 things that were all
camping at the bit over there.
In my head.
I know.
So I'm going to catalog real fast through them. First off, that's a very, very PvP-minded group. Like the people you're running are really into that. So that makes sense why you feel you need to lean into that.
I was into that, so that's why it was like that. But I often tell people, everybody likes PvP. It's just, it's got to be in the right circumstances. It's got to be handled properly, and it's got to be fair and not so much, you know what I'm saying? Like you got to do it right. Yeah. You can't cheese it. It's got to be done really right. And that's why I stick with the rules like so much like that.
Right. I can understand that. Now there are a couple problems. One, you felt, wow, you just activated like 2 of my trap cards. So the first one we gotta talk is the worst thing in modern gaming is leveling up. Now, see how quiet that got? Leveling up is an absolute trap with most systems. Because what happens is, and I was explaining this earlier because I've worked with Luke Stone to make the I call it the base plus 2 engine. It's a mechanic I use for give the idea being it's a general mechanic system, easy to use, but rules light. My problem is in D&D, if I'm me and I step out at level 1 Nick on my front porch and there's an assassin and he stabs me in the gut, I die most likely.
You die. Yeah.
Now if I go out my back door, fight some dragons, do a bunch of awesome stuff, explore. I step out on the front porch, same outfit, and the assassin manages to stab me in the gut. I look at him and go, "Huh, mortal," and backhand his, silly self.
Foolish mortal.
Because there's no threat. Once you get towards about between levels 12 to 15 in most Dungeons and Dragons style systems, and I'm trying to keep it the threat is so low. By most things, of your character dying, it becomes It's almost like you're playing Magic the Gathering instead of playing D&D. It's I use this ability to activate this ability to activate this ability, and it's a whole. I don't like it, and that's why I rarely run, that high level thing. I also don't like PvP because what I will do is if my players want a PvP, that's fine, but they're going to be dead.
Hey, my world's so dangerous. Good luck making it to 15th level, fellas. I'm not unfair, but it is dangerous.
What's interesting,
war usually, like a big war campaign, So those are
super
dangerous.
Is the other thing I want to talk about. You were talking about how did they get to this? How did they get to a level 8 encounter a great worm? When I do level design, I do not do I design my campaign, and I have my campaign setting. It's at least one of them, and many, but is the same world I've been playing in for 30 years. And I've kept time basically moving along for it. So what I set it like a video game. So what you have is a hub town with some low-level, easy-to-enter dungeons roughly around the player's level. And then some intrigue that's hitting they can revisit. And then as they geographically get out, they get into increasing more threats. If anybody watched the Dusk Falls over Ravencleft Gorge I ran for the first 10 levels, basically, on Red Valkyrie, they start in the little town. They're all newbie adventurers. They kill some rats. They get some stuff. They get to find out what's going on, and then they get to decide what they're going to do. And a couple times they chose, just like Zelda or, the great old JRPGs, there's no wall blocking you from over there. Now, you hit that water and the bull sharks start jumping, trying to bite off your face. Maybe you'll learn a lesson about assessment.
Maybe you'll learn a lesson about threat assessment, risk assessment.
And that's part of it. So you have to scale your world. I don't like the segmented, because I'm not a module guy. You don't need to bring a module. I bring a sandbox. Okay, so it's linear for sandbox storytelling. But you still have to have difficulty zones so that they can have some idea.
That's a learning curve.
We're in over our head, and they have the opportunity to back out.
Right.
Because in video game tropes, who hates the locked room boss as much as I do? Castlevania's great for it. You're just running around.
Oh, stop it. Man, Castlevania.
Yeah. And Symphony of the Night it was fundamental to me in how dungeon design should be. You can wander, you may have to backtrack a bit to get something to go back, but it's there. And allowing that sense of exploration takes more setup for the DM originally. But it also takes it makes it easier once you're in play. You're backloading your work so that when you're doing it, you can be in the game and you can move pieces around, because they don't need to know where everything is. So if they want to go over here and you really need something, you can just swap where stuff is. It's modular.
Right.
And that's what helps that sense of exploration, which is really important. And you lose that if you're A to B very linear gaming. The other thing about why I like rules light systems more than some of the denser ones is people ambush me. Like Nick,
people ambush you in real life and in the game.
No, like people. Okay, I ran a game, and it was going to be the capstone of a multi-year campaign, actually multi-decade campaign. They were going to kill Loth. Between levels 5 to 10, Loth is a drow spider goddess. Basically, they were trying to free the drow of having to worship her so that the ones they like could be lawful capitalist. It's a long thing.
But yeah, I get that though.
Yeah,
I get
neutral,
that.
Lawful capitalist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, lawful profit.
They want money, but they're Loth is the spider goddess, so they kind of
right. So not this chaos and backbiting and all the stuff that sabotaged the drow from being awesome.
The
I grew
problem
up
with
with
that
all
is
that
the
stuff,
amount of
so-
slaves that get freed with law's not involved. But whatever.
Right, and that's basically what happened. So 12 people were scheduled to show up at the game, and we got the back end of Denny's. 28 people showed up. So I proceeded to run approximately
Wait, 28 people?
28, as in 2 less than 30, not counting myself.
Golly.
Ranging from people who had gamed for, I had one guy who like had a signed white box Gary Gygax, had been gaming from the get-go, and he called it slumming when he gamed with me, to a lady I met there who happened to be special needs. She was dressed as a Ninja Turtle at the time, and she asked, "Can I play?" So I had a full gambit, made a big circle of the room, and I said, okay, this part of team's going here, and we Theater of the Mind walked the whole thing through. They killed Loth's doppelganger, they fought their way through with overpowered items, fought their way to heck, killed Loth, trapped her essence in an item to become the MacGuffin for the next campaign, because, always plan ahead,
Right.
and had a wonderful time. But that also, it was a baptismal of fire for me, because I'd DM one-on-one. I'd set up solo stuff for people. Now I've gone all the way up to 28 at the same time, keeping everyone hopping and popping and engaged. So that's where you start seeing me get my jam going. It's like, all right, you got to build the gestalt up in your gut a little bit. It's why I'm fat. I need room for the energy.
I never assumed that, but I was like, he puts that to use.
Oh, yeah. I am the skinny fat DM at the points like, you keep me in caffeine, I will keep this going. But it made me realize they had more fun with me going, okay, wow, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. Quick rulings. I learned there are secret mathematical shortcuts that cover maybe 90% of game. Well, we'll say 80% of D&D rules learned can be handled with only a few, knowing 2 or 3 little reference charts. I mean, almost everything boils down to you have to hit a couple numbers.
Right.
And if you know that, it's close enough numerically that you can do something crazy like that, where you can run, and everybody knew where they were in the game. They knew where they were in the world.
Everybody's informed.
No minis,
Yeah.
just pop, 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 pop. And to the people who were there, they talk about it in awe. I will be honest, I don't remember a lot because I was a console. I was just direct tapping the ether and running it. But I know everybody had a blast. And when I talk,
let me go ahead. We're at the top of the hour. I need to run a couple of bumps.
Oh,
are we bumping?
Yeah, we got a bump, man.
Oh man, just like this is what Dick was talking about.
But go ahead, show me real quick.
This is what
can we enhance?
This is Big Stompy Robots, my tactics game. If you open up the back, because I don't like rules this is literally the golden rule of Big Stompy Robots.
Pick the option.
Literally, there's
and
this is a speedy version of like classic BattleTech. If you're feeling mech mixed combat tactics gaming, that's my approach. Blow stuff up, have a good time.
Yeah, Macross. Oh man,
Macross. Yep, I
yes, indeed.
A couple of the versions that came out for that right before the Harmony Gold Nightmare. Yeah, but if you need to run pubs, please support the people who make this channel possible. And if you are watching this before he runs the bumps, there's this like button. You all know you need to hit it. You should be subscribed because they're doing stuff like this every week. And you should be sharing it because your friends are missing it and you're being greedy. You're being selfish.
Yes.
I'm not sharing the glory of all these wonderful people.
I completely agree
with them. So, get some
He's
good
not
time.
wrong.
Share this. All your feeds, Twitter, the YouTube,
TikTok,
wherever.
I don't care what it is.
Smoke signals it out in Morse code. Get this out.
Just do it.
Do it.
Just get my little.
All right, let's look at a couple other people doing the same thing. We'll be right back.
Hi everyone, Daphne Lage here. Join Nita, Lanning, and me on the RAGIN 2 The Vlogs show, where we talk about everything, nothing, and all the bits in between. Looking for hour-long conversations about indie comics, social media marketing, and crowdfunding, with the occasional rant and story time? Head on over to the RAGIN 2 channel on YouTube, Mondays through Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern to join in the chat.
Hit the button.
Now on Sunday mornings, longtime independent comics creator Randy Zimmerman brings to you a podcast that talks about the lighter and more whimsical side of comics, the fun side of comics. That's right. Sunday Funnies is back Sunday morning, 9 a.m. on the Raging 2 YouTube channel and on certain Facebook pages. Check it out, won't you? It's special guests, great talk, and a lot of fun as we work to put the fun back in funny books. See you there.
And of course, like every funny book sent out from our independent people, you want your book to get there in the best quality possible. And one of the ways to do that is in a Gemini mailer. And are you in luck? Today, I can save you 5% on a Gemini mailer
5%.
right there by using the coupon code RAGIN2. Not RAGIN1.
You know how much inflation is? You want to say 5%. I'm not cutting. Yeah, you want.
Oh, tell them. Sell it. Sell it.
I mean,
Like,
listen, inflation's like 8.5%. That's like the highest it's been in 32 years. You guys can quote me on that, or you can Bing it. But use the coupon code RAGIN2. Okay,
Absolutely.
You want to.
Hey,
All
look,
right.
you can use that money that you save to make some more bookmarks.
Oh, hey, yeah. Oh, yeah. That tickles my fancy.
And of course,
Wow, that was the
go
X-rated response.
Go like our page over on Facebook, Dispatches from Outside the Box. Send any questions you have to dispatchesfromoutsideTheBox@gmail.com. I have to come.
Please send us an email. Please.
Yes,
send us an email.
ask for dispatches outside the box after dark.
There you go.
After dark.
And of course, just like our buddy Nick said right before the break, you need
Rules
to like,
initiative, big
subscribe, share,
Share.
go out, pass out pamphlets, knock on neighbors' doors, let them know to subscribe to the Raging
Be a
Podcast
Jehovah's
Network.
Witness, but instead just for dispatches from outside the box.
That's all.
Just
That's it.
yeah, just
A
pretend to be
Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah,
Hojo be
the
played.
Genovas. There we go. There we go.
And of course, we're not the only show on here, even though we might be the best. I don't know. Well, anyway.
Uh-oh. Here comes human
A whole lineup.
resources.
Oh,
You're
of
right.
course, you got Nerd Bacon, of course. Obviously, we're not
Nerd Bacon.
Nerd Bacon, which has our buddy Nick Tucker on it every Thursday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. And of course, we have a plethora of shows you can check out. So go do that, and you can do that by checking out and subscribing Raging 2 Broadcast Network.
Independent stuff.
So
And
those
even though we are the best show on the network, ironically, this is our last show. We are canceled after.
Again, something else I usually have to have on women.
We wanted you to be
That
surprised.
is okay. If not, y'all just come crash us at Nerd Bacon. Luke will roll out the welcome mat. We don't mind, you know.
He'll actually
usually
bring you
Michael has
bacon.
In with Nita, so we might be able to get something else going.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Oh, so you have it in with her. Yeah. I better
Okay.
talk to her.
Oh.
So,
Yes, sir.
Brian, would you prefer to play or would you prefer to DM?
I would prefer to play, honestly. DMing, it takes a little bit of the imagination out of it because you got to be the one who does all of the backstory, the preparation, and things like that. There's imagination in creating it, but you're not living it then. You are just running it, in my opinion. So I think I prefer to be a player, but that's not to discount the fun I had while being the DM. I mean, that's a lot of fun to see the people react to the things that you've created, to encounter the thing and solve the puzzles you put in front of them. Sometimes they find just the craziest way to get through a situation that you absolutely did not plan for. You've got plan A, plan B, and plan C, and damn it if they don't pick E, F, and G just because they know A, B, and C is something that you would do.
That's what always aggravated me. It's like, now that I'm a parent, I really don't need a GM or DM. I got 4 kids. I've got to
You know what? That's a great point too. See, I DM'd a couple of games for my sons as they were getting old enough to do that, and they were completely diceless games because what would happen is I would go pick them up on Wednesday evenings because it was a whole custody thing, and it was hard to know what to do with them other than take them to dinner. And we would be in the car for a couple of hours, not really, I didn't have a ton of money, so I didn't have a whole lot. So we started playing these role-playing games in the car. They were diceless, like I said. And you know what? I made up things as we went, just whatever I thought they would find fun. And as I understand it, they both still play role-playing games. They're both grown and gone now. They're young men, but they still love the art of role-playing games. They love playing them. And
That's
I think what
awesome.
I did was I really helped spark their imaginations.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful story. Can we?
That really throws.
I'm not going to go cry in the shower, but I might go cry in the shower after the show. Okay.
So that we kind of touched on it a little bit here and there, but I'm going to kind of read this to you. It's from Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt. But anyway, a cult in the 1980s. In the 1980s, fear of the occult was a big problem. So it began when a mother believed her daughter's daycare was teaching her to support and worship Satan. So D&D was arguably the first true role-playing game.
There's some D&D happening.
You hear that,
ladies and
right?
gentlemen.
Again, why I'm not
That's
GM.
This is Monsters. That's not D&D.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's the real shit, boys.
Like that's the real shit there, Jim, isn't it? Back to you in the studio.
Yeah, right. Now, many people fear the occult.
And now the weather.
Right. Oh,
Go ahead,
finish.
Steve.
Hold on. I got
Okay, all right. Sorry,
Steve.
Steve. I'm sorry.
This is why I don't
Steve.
GM. Anyway, many people feared the occult, and because of these reports with D&D, suicides, and murders, people also started fearing D&D. Time magazine published an article about D&D being satanic. Let's say in 1983, in August, investigators found Irving Lee Pulling and his brother dead from gunshot wounds beneath a railroad trestle. Irving had a gun in hand. Police thought it was a murder-suicide. Pulling saw the incident as more than a murder-suicide. She blamed Irving's favorite game, Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons.
And you heard it. We said. Yeah, there it goes.
Now, I'm telling you, it's not my business. I was not prepared for this in any way, shape, or form. I was not expecting this, but yes, you have summoned me up to rectify. I did not create that. I created math. No,
right?
Algebra.
Letters in math.
Algebra, is that some kind of terrorist shit?
Is that something we're gonna send down there one time?
Sounds like
You better put that out.
shit.
That's yes. You're gonna put that algebra in Guantanamo Bay. That's what we're gonna fit and do.
That's
Some
where they
bitch.
go.
Yes, yeah. All
I
that
don't know, Nick. Now I want to call you Tim.
I've got a staff or two around here somewhere.
So have y'all had? Has
College
anybody?
words around here?
So has anybody had to deal with that issue where
Yes.
somebody is considered you satanic for playing Dungeons and Dragons?
My parents to this day still think that Dungeons and Dragons is some kind of Church of Satan thing or something.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm like,
wow.
this
Wow.
is South Carolina.
Oh,
Okay,
not
it takes a
the
long
church.
time to.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Takes
See,
a long
because-
time to catch up.
Kind of the
Mitch.
beauty of it is it can be anything, really. So it could be that if you really
Yeah.
needed it to be, you could be like, let's be all occult-like and cool. You could be edgy and shit. You can do that if you want.
Edgelord. Yeah, if you want it.
Edgelord, or try to suck up to the globalists at D Malay or something.
That's-
Sure,
yeah.
you,
Oh,
you
man.
can do that if you want.
You can do it.
But
That's right, kids.
we got words for people like that.
Yeah.
Five
Um,
old
yeah, I
iPods
got
to
all
sell
of
the
that.
Spirit of Steve Jobs. I mean,
Oh,
come
douchebags.
on.
Yeah. I mean, I got all of that because here in South Carolina, the whole satanic panic thing, they really didn't let that go until maybe the late 90s. I mean, it was still
Closer to
like-
Y2K because they
Yeah.
had something else to think about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
the
it
sad
was
thing is
like,
what people think
Yeah.
Luciferianism is. They don't realize that there is I believe, a real threat of it on this world. Like people who believe in it that are enacting global conspiracies. I'm not going to get into that and tinfoil hat stuff, they believe these things, whatever. But the thing is people downplay when you say Satanist or Luciferian because they think of some edgy teenager with fucking goth makeup and
he's
talking
listening
about
to Behemoth or something,
Yeah, we're talking, the real ones worship Moloch. Which is probably even a name I shouldn't even probably utter.
Really?
But I'm not a believer of any kind.
I mentioned off camera my background involved paranormal. I don't want to say
paranormal and
consultation.
Consultation. Okay.
I say it that way because I wasn't out trying to get camera footage of things
like that guy on the Travel Channel. I forget what's his name.
Trying to prove something.
Yeah.
Because I encountered
stuff.
Yeah.
But
son of a bitch. Go ahead.
There's a lot of stuff out there, folks.
Josh Gates.
Josh, yes, thank you, Mitch.
Is he going out after paranormal stuff now? I mean, he went after on
the Sci-Fi Channel. He had a show where he went after like cryptozoological stuff.
That's
the stuff now. He's come all purpose.
Yeah. They start feeding over to that, and then you have people who mess with bonus points to Greg for seeming, and I'm assuming you're handling Satanism versus Luther. I don't even like to say his name. Anyway, the sulfur-smelling crowd D-bag. Anyhow, I'm sorry, I don't like them any more propriety than I think they deserve. Because at points in my life, I was actually approached by the Church of Satan because they wanted to convert me during college, and I laughed, explaining how their boss got choke slammed through not one but two planar barriers, and you want me to worship him? Like, Michael, remember, that's not God. God's like, Michael, take care of my lightweight. Grabbed him, choke slammed him. 1, astral to material, keeping things in DD terms. 2, material to abyssal, drop it right into Hades. And I know terms, but bam, you want me to worship the guy who lost to my boss's lightweight guy,
Stone Cold Steve.
Yeah, he just
stunner. He got Stone Cold Stunner.
Yeah, I mean,
I had to bring up WW something.
Oh, absolutely.
Look, hey, allegories, right?
Allegories, bro.
This is getting a KO from Rey Mysterio and wanting me to think he's better than Andre the Giant. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's not better than Andre the Giant.
And that's not bad to Ray. I love Ray, but and I've met a lot of people who because Satanism is about self-worship and self-empowerment at the cost, theoretically, of others. It's a whole different thing. But, Kane. Double. Johnny, you never cease to entertain. Yes, it does. Because, until he fell, he was beautiful in the eyes of the Lord. I've kind of read the Latin and a few other things having to deal with people who were dumb. But, you look at that, there's a lot of people who feel they are the equal of supernatural things. Did that kick up more with D&D? Maybe. Possibly. But really, you're having parallel development, not intersect. It's not causal, okay? It's correlation. It's happening in the same period, but people assume causation.
Yeah.
When there's so
the keyword assumption.
Right. Exactly. There's so much other material going on that's getting people to ask questions, and there's a whole. That was the start of the modern pagan revival, really catching on in certain circles. And I'm not bashing. I don't want anyone to think just because I have one set of faith. No, I'm not bashing. I have a lot of friends who are pagan, but and I get their stuff. I get how their mojo works. And that's their stuff, and I get
their mojo.
I deliberately use inappropriate terms, so I'll make that clear. It's like I will always mispronounce certain major players in mythology, their name, because I don't want to mess with anything more than I have to. So it's that's that, and that's a great conversation to have, but it's so dangerous to bring that back into D&D.
Right,
because
try to associate that with D&D.
What's interesting and why it's almost scary is if you look at D&D modern, they are there's a modern movement to get rid of the idea of alignment.
Greg, you all right? Greg, you all right over there, Greg? Dude.
Fucking awesome, bro.
If you were pulling a Brian Rodman and having an asthma attack, you're going full Jalen Silent Bob.
Greg may need to mute his mic if he's going to keep hitting that.
Yeah, because
Snow was worried you were choking to death.
I was worried about. I was listening
real well
down
when you hear
to
that.
Jamaica.
I was listening to Nick, and then I heard Greg. I'm like, Greg's probably having a party, but let me just check in on him because
guys, don't let him fool you. I was actually accidentally performing an exorcism on Greg. It just happens once in a while. I
Good
don't
luck with
mean
that.
to.
Good luck.
I'm very big Seth, you know. But feel the
Go ahead,
power
Nick.
of
You were
this
saying.
Greg.
I'm gonna evoke something.
Feel the power of
tonight. I don't know.
OxyClean.
What do you think of this stuff, Mitch?
Sham wow!
Sham wow! You're just gonna soak. You're gonna soak that demon up right up out of that person.
The
With a
breeze,
sham wow.
you know.
Yeah.
If you
I
call
think-
within the next 10
He
minutes.
hasn't spoken much tonight.
What
What do you think, Mitch? What do you think of what he's talking about there?
Well, I think a lot of the Dungeons and Dragons is worshiping Satan, all that stuff is just a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Because in culture, not just ours, but just in general human culture, we have a tendency to, when a major crisis or a problem pops up, to find an easy, like a scapegoat, instead of actually looking at the problem. Because most problems, because most problems are multifaceted. Yes, exactly. I was actually about to bring that up. Because most problems are multifaceted, and you actually have to take
Time.
And it takes work and time to figure out, why. So something like, this kid, shot his brother and himself. Well, he also plays D&D. Well, there's causation. When no, it was probably something else going on. I mean, because most murder suicides are something serious going on.
Yeah, there's some trauma there that's not being resolved properly, and it causes long-term, problems.
Right.
It's usually something like that.
Yeah.
They also didn't look deep enough to see that guns aren't a part of D&D unless you've got an archivist.
Yeah.
How else are you going to cast a spell?
They are.
You gotta cast a spell with bullets. What you mean? Ain't no guns in D&D?
I'd rather be shot.
This is America.
It's magic missing.
There's a few cases I know about where someone killed someone in an act or something. They were arrested, and the person said, "Well, I play D&D, and that messed my mind up." No, you're just looking for a scapegoated excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because I know. Now, I didn't when I was a kid growing up, but I now know a lot of people that play D&D, and they're very sane people who wouldn't hurt anybody. So
it's never.
Yeah, it's just like video games. It's just like video games.
Any random type of person could find themselves playing any RPG game at any time. Even more obscure games, like you just got a guy that lives down the block that you just met or something, and you run into him at the supermarket. Hey, you live down the street, don't you? Yeah, man. Hey, we play this game once in a while. By now, random chance, a jock or somebody like a computer nerd that never plays any video games, that programs or something. Now, all of a sudden, that person's playing the game. It's not anybody of a stereotype of RPG player. And I've seen this my entire life. There isn't an RPG player type of person. There are just
thank you for
a lot
saying
of times
people
just get
that, Greg.
we get
They
access
find an
to it.
interest.
I actually knew a guy.
Thank you.
I knew a guy. He was 50 something years old, almost 60 years old. Never played any of this or whatever the case is. And I know it's not exactly the same thing, but he got really big in World of Warcraft. Just we haven't. Wow. He passed a few years later from cancer, but he got so huge into it, and it just and to hear it, this was a guy who was a trucker, 5 times divorced. I love the guy. I worked with him and everything, but he got into it. It was funny listening to him talking about wizards and magic and casting spells and stuff, and it just kind of goes to show you that there is no set in stone stereotype of
Right.
There's no condition. It's like we were saying at the beginning of the conversation, gentlemen. It would say that it influences anybody. It impacts anybody, regardless of what their interest or what their background.
Yeah.
Stone and I are both metalheads into modern metal, and that's actually a pretty rare.
Me too.
That's actually a pretty. Oh, you too? You like modern metal too? Awesome. Yeah, most people don't even know what modern metal is, but it doesn't matter. And none of that really matters, really. It's what you enjoy, what you find, there are things to enjoy out there. Most of the mainstream entertainment sucks in all the different industries.
Can you repeat that louder for the people?
Yeah, they suck. The mainstream doesn't care about anything they're doing. It's just another day on the job. It's us indie creators who have the passion for it. We're the craftsmen. We're the ones that want to build reputations and build a career long term because we love this shit. We want to make this shit for the rest of our lives, dude.
Thank you.
And prog metal is like that as well. It's one of the few areas, genres, I should say, one of the very few genres that's really innovative in music today. And it's what jazz was in the '60s. You had all the hippie shit that was simplistic, and then you had the Sinatra type shit that was simplistic. But then you had the black jazz musicians who were doing the really complex, odd time signature stuff in the '60s. The prog metal of today is that now. It's that equivalent.
He said it. There we go. Yeah. That's it.
It's exactly that right now. And I'm actually implementing that in film, and I'm hoping that I can be the first to really do that in a big way in the superhero genre with my Gun Demon movie, because so far I've got the Dark Atom allowing me to use their music. And I've been talking to Vola for about 2 years now about using theirs. They're my favorite band, and their music is very cinematic. So is the Dark Atoms. And I'm going to talk to some others. I would really love to get some parts from the Contortionists. There's a scene that I actually visualized the entire scene to like about a 45 section of one of their songs, Clairvoyant. And I'd love to get them on the soundtrack and all that kind of stuff. But it hasn't really been implemented yet. There's one movie that's got prog metal in it, and that is I forget what it was called, but it was kind of cheesy. It was about kids being edgelords about Satan, just like what we were talking about earlier.
Dude, talking about Lords of
Chaos.
Lords of Chaos.
That's about black metal.
Yeah,
it had Animals as leaders and a few other gent bands in there.
I know that movie you're talking about.
But that's kind of wasting it. See, because to me, prog metal, you get that science fiction horror atmosphere and power. And it needs to be used in like science fiction, horror and war type of themes. And that's the way I'm using it. Gun Demon is the first book I'm launching. I've got Mecha Man issue 0 comes with Gun Demon issue 1. So I'm launching those two characters. Mecha Man is actually what he sounds like. He's a guy in a mech. So it's a mech in a superhero universe. That's something I've wanted since I was a freaking kid. So yeah, I knew you would like that idea, Nick.
But see, Greg,
you're hitting my Nightwish button so hard right now, it's not even funny. Like you're just riding that.
I can show you some art if you want to see it. I've got Isan Fazeli doing Mecha Man art.
This is my Twitter handle.
I'm not on Twitter. I'm permanently banned. Actually, I'm on Facebook though.
I think hold on, Nick.
What's up?
I think the mainstream does care about us. I mean, after all, you're going to get a Dungeons and Dragons movie. So I mean,
another one.
I don't think we really are, though. That's not what we're going to get, is it? Just like we're not getting Star Wars, and we're not getting Star Trek, and we're not getting Doctor Who. You see a pattern yet?
They're making another Dungeons and Dragons movie after the first one did so well.
Hollywood needs to stay the fuck away from D&D, in my opinion.
There's a second one.
Oh, look,
there's a second one. It's actually a lot more true to D&D than the first one.
They always say that. They always say that shit.
No,
man.
I'm saying it as somebody like who
actually watched it.
They had a dark.
No, you're not talking about the one that's coming out. You're talking about a different one.
No, okay. You get the first one with Damon with is it Damon? Not
Marlon Wayans.
Marlon Wayans.
There you go. That was just there. You go.
Right.
Awful.
Everybody knows that.
And the sequel was awful. It was even worse. It was a B. Like,
I love
bad effects, dumb story.
It's all bad. B-grade movies. I do love B-grade movies, and
That's fine. Everyone has that.
Cheesy, but it was cheesy from a perspective of somebody who actually
Not a fun
enjoyed.
cheesy though. Nobody sits around and goes, "Hey, let's watch that D&D movie for LOLs." Nobody does that. We don't watch The Room for that, or something that's actually
Yeah,
funny.
Manos, the Hands of Fate.
Manos, the Hand of Fate. Not only do I love that movie so much for it being bad, you could ask Johnny if he's still in things. I made a demon in the game I ran for Red Valkyrie named Manos, just as a shout out. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
Except being me, I made him like Manos if he were played by Vincent Price in his darkest day. Like,
so a good
Oh
one.
yeah.
So like,
Yeah,
This
good.
is what
Well
I
done.
look at. This is what I look at when I look at what they've talked about this D&D movie so far. It's going to be a little tour. Okay, it sounds like through Forgotten Realms. It's just going to be a little tour. They made up a new character from scratch, and that's always a great idea for Hollywood to try to make up a new D&D character, right? So they make up this new guy that none of us have any attachment to already. Nothing established.
He'll be a
with the guy.
thief, right?
We're
He's a
probably
thief,
not going to like him because we're going to actually want to see a Drist movie or a Dragonlance movie, right? But it's going to be this generic thing where we'll see Drist in like a scene or something. He'll be like, he'll tip his like hooded head, and we'll be like, "Oh,
Okay,
look,
in
guys,
case, let me hold on, let me slow it down for a minute so people can understand.
And then, like,
All right, Greg,
two scenes later, there'll be Elminster.
Hold on,
and we'll
hold
be
on,
like,
hold
"Look,
on.
guys, it's Elminster, guys. Look, it's cookies, man. It's a cool.
Let me explain. Hold on. For people who don't know,
Greg. Greg, for the
Greg.
audience.
There's
Greg,
some
let me
other people
explain
in the
it
pen.
out. Because when you say
You're
Drist,
talking
not
about, you guys
everybody
were
knows who
talking
Drist
over me.
is.
I was still getting my point.
Well, no, because you threw out some names out there. And I kind of want to make that say. Like Drist is a popular. I think we lost Dojo. He had to go. So.
Okay. Bye, Dojo.
Nature calls.
Go ahead.
Bye.
I hope I can chat with you again sometime. You're really great.
No, but my point was that I was just trying to make a statement because you're saying that you sound like you're talking about Drist. But for people who are watching that don't know, Drist is a drow elf, and drows are normally evil, but Drist is he's against his nature. So he's a very popular character in the Forgotten Realms books. Probably the most popular character in the Forgotten Realms books. Mm-hmm. So that's what he's saying. So it's kind of like seeing not personality type, but somebody like Han Solo in a Star Wars movie that has nothing to do with Skywalker or something.
It's like the 1998 Godzilla movie.
It's another tour through the universe that's going to tease us. There's going to be cookies, member berries. And it's not going to be anything we're going to care about talk about 2 years afterwards. It's just, you can see it coming. I've seen what they've said about the movie, and that's pretty much what they described. Because they did say there's going to be big characters in it, but it follows a brand new guy and all this, and he's going to travel throughout the world. So it's a tour. It's just a tour for their products. Is all it is. I'm calling it right now.
The Forgotten Realms
it's
is
what they do, man. It's Hollywood. It's what they do.
Hold on. I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
No, don't do that.
Forgotten Realms.
No, Nick. No.
For 30, 40 years, offhand, most people don't know who Ed Greenwood is. Most people don't know who Bob Salvatore is. They don't know who R. Salvatore. Yeah. And if you read his later books, they're dramatically different than his earlier books.
Oh yeah.
And Bob writes Drist.
Right. But he created Drist Order. He also created Artemis Interi, who's far more important in my opinion. Anyway, sorry.
Drist made Artemis who he is, though. Really, when it boils down to it.
That was the point. But
I love Artemis too.
Well, of course you do. What's not to love? We want to bring people into this world. So there has to be an on-ramp. And it's not going to be for us because it's not tailored to us. You got to figure, we're looking at books that are 30 and 40 years old, because I was reading the Dark Elf trilogy. I found it in junior year, so 98. That's just starting to be considered an antique. I mean, when we keep this perspective. And if we want new people to love the genre and the content that we love, we have to have a way to onboard them. I don't agree with how Hollywood does it.
No,
it sucks.
I get that.
But
we get that.
The process needs to be done.
Yeah, but it needs to be executed correctly, and Hollywood has
Tell
not
the
been
best
executing that
stories.
correctly.
Tell the best stories.
Tell the
But
best
if you-
stories.
If you
Here's the
satisfy
problem
the
with it.
fans, the normies are easy to satisfy.
Yeah.
You just gotta have some cool effects, cool monsters, action. The normies are down, right? But the fans are the ones that you have to satisfy. If you satisfy them, you win. And
if you
Hollywood
do it right,
sucks
you
at that.
create more fans, and that's what they
Yeah.
haven't got.
And you
But-
keep the
well,
fans
look at
that
Lord
have
of the
built
Rings.
that franchise.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings, right there,
That's a great
proves the
point.
point right there as far as normies are concerned, because you did the book, you told the book as best as you could, really to
It was done
Yeah.
very well.
It was.
Peter did a great job.
Yeah, and
You know,
because they
Peter
cared, because they gave a
Jackson-
damn about the Chris.
Yeah.
I don't feel the
Christopher
same
Lee
way
was-
about The Hobbit,
Yeah,
but
Well-
I do feel that way about the
Well,
Lord of
that's
the
the
Rings
I'm
trilogy.
not going to talk about
Yeah.
that one.
No, that's
but like
See it that
Christopher
right,
Lee was giving his blessings by J.R.R. Tolkien to make that to play Gandalf, right? So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Lee read it consistently at least once a
Yeah.
year, every year for most of his life. He wasn't going to throw his hat in the ring with somebody that wasn't going to care about it.
Mhm.
But then you look at this. Chris Pine, who's going to be in this Dungeons and Dragons movie, has described this movie as a mix between Game of Thrones. And here's the thing. And you can like each of these on their own. No judgment.
Everything's Game of Thrones nowadays.
Oh, yeah. But
I
look,
know.
look,
It's
thank
the
you,
worst
look,
man.
for
fantasy.
somebody who doesn't know any better,
It's
but-
the worst.
The Princess
Oh.
Bride, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which I love. I love Monty
I love
Python.
Monty
film.
Python. Yeah.
Me too. It should be a D&D movie.
Right, and exactly, and the little bit of the Goonies. And while I do agree that
But
there needs to be something that's going to pull people in, if it's not done right, it's almost like the superhero genre. If you look at the Captain America back in 1990, 91.
Yeah,
Right.
91. Yeah.
And then there's Michelle Rodriguez that's in this movie. My wife,
excuse
probably,
me?
if she heard that right now, she's flipping out. Yeah, Michelle Rodriguez. and Dungeons
That's
and
human
Dragons.
that's human
And
resources.
then she goes, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah.
The movie already sucks, guys. I mean, it
We're so
does.
sorry. We're sorry to do this. We're going to apologize on behalf of the people who don't know what Dungeons and Dragons is. We're going to apologize to the people who do know what Dungeons and Dragons is.
Well,
We're just
let's
gonna
apologize
apologize
to the
to-
ones who
but-
don't, because they're not going to get to find out the awesomeness that it can be.
Yeah.
You know,
That's-
when
and
they're
I
when
can
they're going to
really
get this
understand what
lame,
you're
watered
saying.
down like Hollywood version, they're not going to get a
Right.
taste of D&D from that.
You're a filmmaker, are you not?
Yeah.
Well, see, I have this thing, and one of my beliefs is, and it's why I write books. I don't want to write a lot of the books I write. I didn't set out to do it. It's just I looked around and nobody was doing what I wanted done.
Mm.
So
I'm doing that with Mecha Man.
Well,
Gun
see,
Demon.
Right.
yeah, that's I wrote my manual first and foremost because I knew people were literally training other people wrong for their own
Right.
benefit.
For their own benefit. Yeah.
When you have a passion, you're like, this is wrong. You cannot call it Dungeons and Dragons, obviously. However, everybody here is an independent creator. Everybody here has used the phrase at some point or another. Ancient Aliens meets the Claremont era of the X-Men,
Aliens.
right?
That's not a bad pitch. Go
Wait a
ahead.
minute.
It's not.
It's better than that D&D pitch.
One, support hybrids, the sons of gods.
Yeah.
Luke Stone, I love you, brother.
Better
He's
pitch
still
indeed.
he's still streaming, and you can buy the quick play version through his site now. Anyway, hashtag always promote. I love you, Brian K. Morris, because you've implanted that.
Brian
on my
K.
brain.
Morris.
Brian K. Morris is all.
Yeah, he's
My thing, and I've been looking for indie and maybe in some other acronyms that float around the circles that I travel in. Creators that you don't like what Hollywood's doing. Most of us agree. I'm going to be a little vulgar here, and I apologize, but nut up or shut up, bro.
That's what
I
I'm
mean,
doing.
like,
Gun
do
Demon
it.
movie, baby.
Just do it and then plug it. And when you're done with this, while you're sitting here, write notes. Go watch that horrible movie. If you
You know what I've been wanting to see for a long, long time,
And
and I haven't
then
really
write down
truly been
everything that you
satisfied, is
What?
a Spider-Man, great Spider-Man movie. You know, one that's really great. So that's what I'm going. That's what Gun Demon is. He's my Spidey, dude.
Right.
He's very different. He's not very derivative. You can't look at him and go, "Oh, that's a
No.
Spidey knockoff," right?
Right.
And
Right.
especially even from the title of the book, Gun Demon, right? But
Oh, it
the
says
things that
Spider-Man,
I
I
really
can see that.
enjoy visually about
Yeah.
Spider-Man action scenes are
Right.
in Gunny. So I'm making a movie of that, and I'm going to get my fucking awesome Spider-Man movie I've been wanting to see with big monsters,
That's
Right.
why I
and
love
that's what I'm going to do.
Battletech.
So I am nutting
Bingo.
up, bro.
So you know what? So
Bam!
in this issue, so here we go. Let Hollywood make their crap. People are starting to see that it is crap.
Hey, man, I mean, look, it's been painful, but I've told people from the beginning, hey, they're getting themselves out of the way for us, guys. Let's move in.
Right.
Let's make quality. Let's show them craftsmanship that Hollywood set, it used to be a name that meant quality in their industry. Okay, it really did. I wanted to work in LucasArts, for example, very badly. That was one of my biggest goals in life. I was learning to be a Star Wars developer and director my entire life. And then when George sold to Disney, at first I was like, because I didn't know a lot about the evil side of Disney, which I'm not going to go into on this fun stream. But
That's another show.
Because they are my enemies. I'll just say that right now. They are my declared fucking enemies. Yeah. But anyways, all right. So when I first heard about them buying Star Wars, I thought, this may be my chance because they're going to make a new Star Wars movie every year. If I can get established, if I can get a fan film out, get my vision out there, maybe I can get a chance to be a Star Wars director. And then I saw, no, I can't because it's just guys in their network who know nothing about Star Wars, and they're actually setting out to destroy it on purpose, to destroy our modern culture.
They've admitted it.
And I saw they have, and I've seen the signs of Marxism are all over that. That's just a psyops weapon, guys. It's not politics. It's not anything but a weapon that destroys and destabilizes societies. That's what they're doing with it. So no, I don't want to
get me started on my anti-Marxist thing.
Yeah, man. I won't. I'm going to put the hat on.
I'm going to pull us in because, I'm loud enough to actually do it. And C Michael's too civil. He's used to having a Randy who'd be like, either
people when I
yes,
talk about
we're doing this, or or like, guys, chill. We need to get on top.
But point is that was very much a painful thing for me. I was very early fandom menace, and as soon as I walked out of The Force Awakens, I was fucking pissed. And at first I was bewildered. I'm like, what just fucking happened?
What happened?
This was not a Star Wars experience for starters. And then the more I thought about, hold on there, brother, hold on there, punch them butt cheeks. But the longer I thought about it on the ride home, I'm thinking, I started analyzing it. I'm like, Jesus, fuck, this is what the, and I got angry immediately. And I went on the warpath, and I'm like, this man is not deserved. I worked my whole life to be a Star Wars developer, and that guy gets to go and shit all over it. And I got pissed. Yeah. And then I saw Ruin Johnson come in and get his chance to wipe his ass all over it. And all these other douchebags are getting their turns. And it's just, it's none of it's Star Wars. And it was painful, guys. It really was.
If you want it back,
they're making room for all of you to fucking push your way in the gate, create your IP that is inspired by these. My Gun Demon and all this universe my characters are set in is going to be leading up to a galactic war. Instead of Jedi, we're going to have science fiction based superheroes. And that's where eventually it's going to lead to. So that's my Star Wars.
I get you. But on that grounds, and now you see in for Dungeons and Dragons, you can see that they're showing that stuff in Walmart now. You can go into Walmart, you can pick up a player's handbook. So what does that tell you? What they're doing with that? So if you want something different on that, you're going to have to come up again with your own role playing games to hit that market too.
Mm-hmm.
What, Nick?
Yep, you got to hit every market, guys. That's why I'm building a multimedia company. I want to hit them all. I'm launching a CCG, freaking video games. You got to hit them all, man. We got to push these fakers out. Push them the fuck out.
I believe in the market. I really do. Now, I do believe in holding the high end accountable. This is why I can't be on any standard party. I treat major corporations like I treat foreign powers in my mind. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. They have their own armies. They have their own stuff. That's where the delineations are no longer geographic. They're stock portfolio. Mm-hmm. But the horrible thing is there's one thing that the business mind, the people whose minds are focused on profit at business and market manipulation and all this, they can't generate creative ideas. It's
not going to happen.
No one gets all the skill sets. So
they don't want the skill set. To be honest with you, Nick,
they don't want.
They don't care about it.
it's also the artist doesn't have the same skill sets as a mechanic, this sort of thing.
Yeah.
They need the true commodity in a world that could be post-scarcity if we chose to be, that could be much more advanced than it is if we chose to be as a species, is IP. Creativity is the one thing to be able to generate whole worlds out of the ether, is the one thing that the business mind just can't do. That's why artists need patrons and patrons need artists. And I as somebody who has a Patreon for my historical fencing guild, I'm using these terms deliberate. If you want to be able to do that, you have to practice. And RPGs are the textbook for creativity. They are the workbook where you get to have a rough set of, it's literally like worksheets. Create scenarios, expand on scenarios. If you want to be a better writer, a better artist, a better creator, a better cinematographer, you need to flex the mental muscle. And that's a huge point of at least why I came out on the show tonight, was to talk about the importance of this as a tool, because all you guys are creatives. All the people I'm seeing in the comments are creatives.
Every last one of them.
Oh, thank you. That's my I finally got my own site that isn't attached to social media. It's incredibly basic. I renovated it and it crashed, so I had to refit. It's just my links.
It happens to the best of us.
Like I said, I don't have all the skills. I just have a dabble at some of them. If you want my art page, you can go to my DeviantArt. I've been there for 18 years, posting up art and commentary and stuff.
Yeah.
I have 2 YouTube channels because I teach how to, basic how to draw and kids stuff. And then I have the Historical Fencing Guild, where I've been teaching people how to sword fight for, years. I'm on Nerd Bacon, the Historical Fencing.
No, I'm not. No, we're just going through it. We're not.
No. I'm just talking.
Okay. Yeah. I just think you sound like you wrapped it up. I'm just saying.
No. I you know what? I'm used to having to do this whole spiel. So
I know.
You're right. I fell right into. I have been doing some streaming for a while now. This means this, but and a lot. When we're creating, when we're helping, we're doing better, and that is a commodity you can't buy. You can't just buy karma. People try. It doesn't work that way. You can blow it being a dick, but you can't buy what you put out will come back to you. And like I said, all these people, I only associate with creative people who I feel are positive in my universe. Even if I don't agree with you politically or religiously or orientation-wise, that doesn't matter. I look at frequency. Are you a positive person? Are you creating something? Even if it's not my jam, I'll talk about it, I'll promote it, I'll get it out there. And I've been doing this a long time. Have I made a lot of money?
Of doing it?
No, but the world has blessed me in different ways, And
it's not. If it was all about the money, Nick, we wouldn't be doing this in the first place.
No.
You see what I'm trying to say? Because that's what's corrupted. That's what's corrupted all these institutions that we were just talking about.
Absolutely.
That no longer cherish creativity. They don't cherish writing a good story. So, what we're doing is the antithesis of what's mainstream, what these multi-billion-dollar organizations have. If you just try to summarize that.
No, I'm laughing because my 2 novels set in the universe of Big Stompy Robots are both about a distant planet with mega corporations having mecha-based combat. So
not too far off in the future.
And that's available here on Amazon?
Yep, that's available through Amazon. Melee was the first tactics game I ever came up with a friend of mine who passed before it could get published. Yeah. And it's very, very simple. It was for SCA reenactment, basically, and other guys to be able to set up strategies for you have this kind of fighter. How can you line them up and get things to work out? And it became a real fun little game we played. And that I did that originally. I threw it out there and I loved it. And then I started building this whole world around Big Stompy Robots that I built I designed when I found out I was going to be a father, so I could share my love of. Again, I don't like complex rule systems. If you've ever played classic BattleTech, it's a very complex system. So I made a much simpler system that worked with good mechanics, and then I started world building. So Eyes to the Sky is set in that universe, and it's a war story, and it's told from the perspective of somebody who lost the war. And they lost the war to nightmarish means. Basically, essentially zombie mecha. Mechs came from the sky, crashed down in the middle of their thing, and shot nanotech that infected the mechs around them, reshaping them with the pilots inside.
I love that premise.
So 25, 30 years later, the guys... a beat-up old cyborg out in the wastes with a radio station and a whole bunch of cameras waiting for the satellite that dropped them to show up again, just in case.
Just in case.
While rebuilding his tank from that time.
Yeah.
And it's just a great story. The other one is Small Arms is about a merc who tried to retire. And it's one of the big planetary landings, and normally every merc in the area is looking for jobs or intrigue. He just went to watch the ship land and ended up in the middle of, a man who knew too much scenario where all the sides are trying to kill him because he couldn't resist interfering just a little bit. And there's intrigue and body horror and grotesque mecha combat, and I love that stuff, and that's the sci-fi side. The Whisperer is a small horror story I wrote based on a really weird nightmare I had that somebody asked me to publish it, so I did.
So you did, yeah.
And then you get into the Simple Sword. The Simple Sword. Now we're getting into my great passion projects. This is my how to learn to sword fight from the ground up in plain simple English. I wrote this because I worked with people who were severely dyslexic and couldn't read. So I translated what was in most of the fencing manuals, and I used stick figures. So that anyone could pick it up. Because at the time I wrote this, the only manuals you could find were either still in historic, like, Middle Ages Italian.
Yeah.
Say for a couple translations, or French or something. So what I did is I took all the techniques I had learned, and I read and I poured over translations. I found out they were all saying 60 to 80% of the same thing. So put it in simple language and make it as cheap as Amazon would let me, because I used color. So that anybody who wants to learn to sword fight could. And that was based around fencing. So I did the sequel to it, much smaller, The Fighting Axe, where I talk about how to sword fight with an axe and the basic use. Because, I was asked to write up a manual, and I kept it as cheap as possible. The original Big Stompy Robots Quick Play rules are 99 cents. There is an app my buddy Joe Bachman made, so if you look up my name and Big Stompy Robots on either iPhone or Android, you'll be able to find that. Usually, he's learning to build. Well, he's learning to build apps.
Gotcha.
You've done construction-based math stuff, so I'm like, here, we'll set this up if you want.
Yeah.
And in my classic, you have an idea, I have an idea. Let's split the profit 50-50, make something happen. And so that's up there. And you'll notice this theme, everything is cheap, because I was the kid who was too poor to afford the things I wanted.
This is your form of giving back, to be honest with you. You know
absolutely.
what I'm saying? It's a simple concept.
It's simple but rare, because people want their extra. I made my mechs and tanks that I designed this when I was a little kid originally out of fireworks sticks. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Sarah is a delightful woman who sleeps in a coffin and is the patron of darkness, and I absolutely adore her. She's sweet
and love the living crap out of that. See, we are getting close to the end of the show. Not to cut you off, Nick, but
no,
we wanted to. Well, but we love all the history and all the details, all the trivia from you guys. It's been amazing. But I was going to ask, did we have anything to pull up for Greg?
For Greg, yeah, absolutely. Greg's got it ready to go.
We got it. Okay,
go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, but you guys check out Nick's stuff. Go ahead, Greg.
All right, I'll give you guys a brief little tour of the Gun Demon universe here, the Brain Cage universe.
I don't have a boner.
This is a triptych of the 3 covers.
None to dead
right
puppies. Here. None to dead puppies.
Hey, whatever gets you off, man.
I was super lucky to get a cover. Okay, I was super lucky to get a cover from Said No Cons. So Said is he's worked for Marvel and Image. She's freaking phenomenal, as you can see, very 90s style, which is what I'm going for with these books. This is also I was lucky to get a Christian Rossi cover over here, and the center is my sequential artist did the layout. Well, there's Chris Oak did layouts, and John Howard and Felipe Obando did the rest of this one. But this is the 3 covers for Gun Demon #1. And hold on, let me find these other. Yeah, this other stuff.
Your mic is doing weird stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
sorry
your
about
mic
that.
is
Let me
like,
see. Maybe.
Yeah.
Is it better if I'm closer?
No,
better?
It's kind of like a very fast robot. It's making you sound
maybe because
like
I'm sharing this screen or something. I don't know. It's weird.
Probably.
I don't know. Anyway.
Ladder your cables loose. It has that cable loose kind of sound.
So there's the main cover there. This is
oh, it's gorgeous.
This is my villain Abaddon. I'm bringing back big badass monsters, and Abaddon and some other monsters got in here. They're going to absolutely just wreck New Orleans.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Let's go for it.
They're going to get it. They're really going to get it. I lived there in '92 when it was the police brutality capital and the murder capital of the U.S. at that time. It was really, really crazy place to be. Here are some other characters from the universe.
Oh, man.
You're going to see this. You're going to see this Destroyer Demon wrecking shit. This is my main creature designer, Carlos Villa. He is phenomenal. So what we're going for is multimedia. So what we do is we design these characters so that they will work in all mediums, including film. As you can see, this will look great in a movie. And so we're designing them for all of that. And that's basically so look at some of the Gun Demon. And also in the store, you're going to see Mecha Man. This is the guy I was talking about earlier. This is his prototype suit. This is a rough sketch. Yeah, that's right. This is what Isan Fazeli calls a rough sketch.
Okay.
I think it's fucking funny.
This is a rough sketch. All right.
Yeah, that's his rough sketch.
Wow.
He is a master of hard shell surfaces. Here's some more rough sketches too for some different mechs that you're going to see Mecha Man go up against that are corporate mechs. And this is what he calls a rough design. And in Mecha Man #1, you're going to see his heavy suit in action. This is for fighting kaiju.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is Mecha Man. So that's what we're launching with. I also want to show off really quick. I want to show off this Scarab by Stefani Renee. And last I talked to Stefani, he's got the script ready. He's translating it to English. He's from Brazil. And
there's a Spider-Man influence.
And he's been putting, there's definitely some more. He's more of like a Batman-ish kind of character with maybe a bit of havoc if you want to compare him to existing characters. But this is Scarab.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's empowered by Ra, the sun god, and he's Egyptian. And I can't think of too many Egyptian heroes, which I think is pretty cool. And also, my Mecha Man, his real name is Farzan Ahangar, and he is Iranian or Persian. And so I think he's actually, the first Persian superhero, which I think is kind of neat. But we're basically hitting the mythology all around the world.
That's awesome.
This is Egypt, and of course, Gun Demon comes from Christian demonology, and all these different. So that's what we're doing with the Brain Cage universe.
Awesome.
That's great stuff. Beautiful work all around. Shout out.
You.
You guys are doing.
It's a pack. We
Greg,
love what we're doing, man.
Stuff.
Yeah. They love what we're doing,
and it shows. This is This is why we do these shows.
Yeah.
Because we've got a lot of folks out there like yourselves that they don't have a whole lot of opportunity to talk about and share all this phenomenal work that you're doing day in, day out. This is who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we love to.
So lucky to get the team that I've got, man. I've been looking for artists to work with of that caliber for a lot of years, and it's just amazing. What's really helped me is the Comicsgate community. It's the most supportive, creative community I've ever seen on the planet, and it's just got an amazing network of professionals. And a lot of my team is also outside of Comicsgate, but it's just what's going on in indie comics right now is truly phenomenal, and I love to be a part of it.
Yeah,
it's a great time for independent.
Speaking of independent, who is this?
See, this looks familiar, and I don't know why you brought this up, but this is this thing that I'm.
Well, I mean, you're about to launch. We got to.
Yeah, I'm about to launch, guys. This is my stuff. I'm just joshing with you. This is. Oh. Thank you so very kindly. These are the Novum goddesses. That's guys. Oh, well, I mean, you can see on the screen. They are celestial entities in my story, Journey of the Shadow. And the next installation, I saw you, Mitch. The next installation is Darkness. Darkness Falls.
What I do?
Nothing. You're just being mystic. That's all. Darkness Falls is coming out May the 6th. And
I'm sorry. I'm more powerful than I thought.
Darkness fell on Gregory. Oh my God! It finally happened.
My cat's just plowed over my laptop.
Oh golly!
Think about that next time.
That sounds about right.
People. Oh gosh, that's why you gotta love cats. Cats just regardless of what you're doing. Anyway,
hilarious.
Journey of the Shadow, I suppose, real brief thing. That's my man up there. That's Commander Sumitsu. He's 19 years old. You see him wielding a sword. He's got supernatural powers. He doesn't know why he's got them. But in this installation, they're still trying to fight back this ancient evil that's trying to resurrect himself on planet Earth, modern day Earth. But they run upon a new evil, and he's not really sure how to deal with it. So, human bodies start piling up, et cetera, and he's not really sure how to deal with this thing. And darkness is falling upon him. But if he can't draw strength from a lot of extremely amazing, well-talented extraterrestrial ladies, I should say in particular, then darkness will fall upon the universe. This is dropping May the 6th. I finally finished it last week. All the edits and the formatting is done.
Nice.
It'll be available on Amazon, but signed copies, you can get it from yours truly. It is 607 pages long, my friend. So this is just scratching the surface for Journey in the Shadow, because the next book I'll start working on this month is Vengeance Theorem, and then the fourth book will be called Retribution. So when you guys, I highly recommend that you get volume 1 first before you dive into it. But we've got exclusive art. If you guys want to get prints, 5x7s, we got 11x17s. You can even download Darkness Falls Chapter 1 for free. Try it before you buy it if you want. There's a lot of neat stuff, guys, on journeyoftheshadow.com that you can sink your teeth into. But I'll tell you this much. Journey of the Shadow is just one of those things that came into a dream of mine. I think, Nick, you were talking about it's something that's popped in your head. One of those goddesses. I think it was Rosaria. That's
gorgeous, dude. That's pro work, man. That's
thank you.
Fabulous.
That's Shikari on the left, and then I think my girl Kat Chan from Iran on the right. And then when you see First Lieutenant Solitaire, Princess Suzuka Devonia, all of these ladies they have their own who they are. You know what I mean? What they are.
Yeah.
All their capacities, their intellect, their powers. So for example, we use the metric system. Sorry, kids, but we use the metric system in Journey of the Shadow. So there's no English system bullshit in there. But if you guys want to get started, if you haven't jumped into
spicy take, boom.
That's a spicy take. That's a spicy meatball. If you all haven't jumped into Journey of the Shadow yet, then the first book is volume 1. It's only 338 pages. I call it the Cliff Notes of Journey of the Shadow. Read that first, and then jump into Darkness Falls. Everything will make sense.
Do you have a tier that has both of them together that we can just get them all at once?
Well, I don't. I had a Kickstarter like earlier, and that that happened. So this right here is just on the website that's available on my store page. But pretty sure after Darkness Falls drops, you guys can there's going to be combos, so you guys look out for that. Cool. What's really interesting is that I got interviewed on NBC. That's Zelina Maxwell up there. But got featured on Fox, CBS, and some other stuff. This thing's won 3 awards. You can see that's that cheesy picture in the middle. Dude. I've been doing this for, dear God, like after I left the federal government, and then I was just like, well, let's do Journey of the Shadow, and then I didn't know that many people would take an interest in my ideas, because this has been in me for about 20 something odd years. So I really appreciate everybody's support around it. So that's Journey of the Shadow. Oh yeah, there's all this is safe for work. I put the safe for work pictures up here because I didn't want to put like the nudie stuff. You just click the pictures. It's just, folks, if you want to see the naughtier stuff, just click that. It's there. But you go to the main page, journeyoftheshadow.com. It's a lot of fun.
All right. So let's get to before we go to the outros, let's say we've got Mike Jimmy. Good morning, Mike.
Mike. What's up, Mike?
Sarah says she live in the future, Mike. It's 10 p.m. Yeah, it's about right.
Well, 5
a.m.
Okay.
Can't get enough of that sugar, Chris. He got the booty, don't quit.
I come in and Greg is taken out by the CIA.
They're slackers, dude. They've been like, I don't know why they haven't taken me out years ago. What the fuck?
Yeah,
that's a lot of
pages.
Talking 607 pages.
Yeah, it's a lot.
AKA Stone had a wet dream and he made a book.
I like thick books.
Yeah, and the girls are even thicker. It's great.
Mike says, "Hey, Greg."
I am down with the thickness. I will fully admit that.
You guys. Yeah, we are.
Robert Jordan's one of my favorite authors, if that tells you anything. I like, really getting into a book, man. I love that.
Good
big,
stuff.
thick books. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. You could just get your hands on one and be like,
Well, once you get into a really neat world, you don't want to get out of it, man. You want to keep doing more stuff in there, You want
exactly.
Yeah. So if it's like 300 or 400 pages, that's like a quick tour. It's not like really immersing, into that world for me.
Listen to Greg. He just explained it.
So anyway, I got my producer over here looking at me, so we need to.
Oh God.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now you're worried about Tom. Whatever. Anyway, Nick, tell where we can find you, man.
Wait, who are you
Which
talking
one?
to?
Nick.
Oh, okay. Hi. Wow. I'm really easy to find at ntalkert on Twitter or www.nicholastalkert.com. It's that just a whole bunch of links. I'm on YouTube twice a week, guaranteed, on Friday nights at 8, running 8 to 9 is the Historical Fencing Guild live stream, where I talk about swords and shenanigans and how to learn to fight, where things have come up, where in the news or new products, things like that. It gets derailed. I'm on Nerd Bacon every Thursday morning at 9
with Luke Stone,
where we talk about whatever Luke surprises and or ambushes me with that day, and it's great fun. Never know. I tend to pop up on anything by Brian K. Morris. Basically, if Nita says, "Nick, come here," I usually come flagging in pretty fast. I'm obliging. You can find me on the YouTube /Nicholas Talkert channel, where you'll see some real short stop motion clips, some Bob Ross doing cartooning style, sort of POV draw videos, shenanigans there. If you go to the Historical Fencing Guild on YouTube, you'll see a lot old videos of fighting. More videos are coming at the end of this month when we actually can get past the post.
Human resources.
Bread is buttered around here. But all my books, as they showed, are on Amazon at www.amazon.com/author/Nicholas Talkert. That's me. And you can find my artwork where it's been for 18 years up on deviantart.com/NickT. Yeah, I'm old enough I can have a call sign like Nick T with no numbers or anything weird at the end. So yeah, I stalk a whole bunch of people's chats and basically make a complete pain in the butt of myself by having an excess of personality and not enough inhibitions to shut up. So that's how you find me anywhere.
All right. Hey, Greg, where can we find you at, man?
Well, I'm permanently suspended from Twitter, so unless Elon does anything about that, you can find me on Facebook. Gregory L. LeVitre is my main page. I've got a Gun Demon, a Mecha Man, and Brain Cage Multimedia pages there, and Brain Cage Multimedia on YouTube. I'm about to launch my own solo channel because we're going to use the Brain Cage channel just for Brain Cage news and things like that, and CCG games of our game Battlegate. So But for now, you can find me. I'm going to start streaming again on there here pretty soon. Took a break, but that's where you can find me.
All right, awesome. And of course, Mitch.
Mystic Mitch here. You can find me at, hang on.
Yep. Yeah.
LeVitre Celtic Cross Studios. That has all my website, my Instagram, and all that. Don't forget, I still have the Boger Southern Gothic Kickstarter going on. So all the people that were, I'm not going to back it because it's on Indiegogo. You back that book on Kickstarter, okay? That's the only reason I'm doing it. Thursday, I'll be on Crowdfunding Comics talking about Southern Gothic. And if you're in the Greenville, South Carolina area, I'll be at Borderlands Comics and Games for Free Comic Book Day this Saturday. So from the area, come by and say hey.
Right. Yep. Free Comic Book Day. Awesome. Stone.
You guys, you know where to find me. JourneyOfTheShadow.com. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Journey of the Shadow. Send me a DM, which means direct message. Oh, contrary wise. So you just slide into those DMs. Oh, yeah, girl. JourneyOfTheShadow.com. Bing me. Bing me.
All right.
Where can we find you, C?
Well, just like Mitch, you can find me at linktree.ee/C Michael Lanning. That has my profile, my Facebook, Twitter, all that other great stuff. And of course, you can find me back here again next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, where next week's topic, it's a very important topic, we'll be talking about ducks. That's right.
Ducks.
I said ducks.
That's right.
Ducks.
I mean, ducks are free at the park, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Look, listen, I have 472 ducks. You won't believe the power of a duckmobile until you have 472 ducks.
There is a conspiracy of ducks out there. We're going to get into it next week with our buddy and good friend George Medina, whose Wonder Duck campaign launches tomorrow. So check that out on Kickstarter, guys. And anyway, I'm going to leave y'all with our word for the week, and y'all have a good week.
Take care, guys.
What do you guys think happened?
One of the players Robbie played with got carried away and killed him.
Well, that's kind of far out.
Mazes and Monsters is a far-out game. Swords, poison, spells, battles, maiming, killing.
Hey, it's all imagination.
Is it? I'll be talking to you.